I am concerned about the health of this tree. So what do you do when a tree is slowly deteriorating? Spring is an amazing time if you grow bonsai. Unfortunately, it is also the time where you get very, very concerned sometimes. And I am very concerned with this tree. This tree is an eonymous europea. It's the European spindle. Is it spindle? Firewood? Firebush? European firebush? Anyway, eonymous europea. And I have been growing this from just the single trunk that I found somewhere on a pile of waste. All these branches I grew over the last decade. It's always been doing really well. Now I put it in a nice pot 2 years ago. It's nice enough, it's not great, but it's nice. And last year it wasn't growing all that well. Then over winter I noticed that slowly all the fine branches started to die off. Well, in this case I know it's been fertilized. I know I haven't missed any important waterings. I think this pot is not great for this tree. Maybe it is a little bit too small for the root ball. So I'm going to do a drastic repot. I'm going to remove maybe 1/3 of the roots, and then I'm going to find a pot that's somewhat bigger. I'm going to plant it up in a bigger pot. Now you can tell here, all these little branches here, they're brown, dried out and dead. And this is dead. So it is very tempting to then say, I'm going to just cut this whole branch off. But then if you look a little bit closer, here is a little bit of green. This is a swelling bud. And in the back here, there are also some swelling buds. So I'm not going to remove all this much. I'm just going to leave it alone, plant it in a bigger pot, and then I'll see over the course of the season what lives and what doesn't. And then I can still clean it up later in the season. Let's see whether this will just slide out of this pot or whether I need a repotting knife. Now this is it. If you look at these roots, they're all nice and white. They all seem to be doing okay. So what could be the problem? Maybe I have found the problem. Look at this pot. Not sure whether it is clear, but these drainage holes are actually sitting in a very high part of the pot. So that means that water will accumulate here along the edges. It was a nice pot, but it wasn't a great pot. Now I could do a few things. I could of course drill holes here on the edges to improve drainage. Yeah, maybe I should try that. Try to drill tiny little holes here on the edges. I don't have a diamond drill though. Let's see whether I have a different pot. I don't have a nice ceramic pot, but I have this nice training pot, which is quite a bit larger. But that is fine. That also means that I can now put this eonymous in this pot with minimal root work, which actually is a safer bet if you are concerned that the tree is not strong enough. I'm also going to bury the nevari. I'm going to plant it quite deep. I don't want the root ball to go any deeper, but I want to spread it horizontally. Now a lot of moss has grown up. I don't want moss on my trunk because it affects the bark structure. And the trunk will have a different color. So I'm trying to remove most of this before potting it up again. It's not all that critical though, because this species is not grown for the bark. But this individual does have a nice bark at the moment. So I'm just removing gently what I can. Once that is done, I'm just going to open up these edges of the root ball. So I am going to prune quite significantly in the hope that then this year this tree can really take off. Right, substantially reduced. I've opened up some spots in areas where really the roots need to develop more. Most of the moss is gone. I'll peel off a little bit more as I go. Then I'll prepare my pot with mesh and wire, put a bit of substrate in, put the tree on it, tie it in and fill it up with substrate and be done with it. Let's see whether this recovers over the season, but first let me get it into a pot. Right. Nice and tight on the bottom so that all the roots connect. I do need to make sure I tie it down, wiggle free, and ideally with wire mostly beneath the surface roots or around the highest level, so that I don't leave a scar. And then just fill it back up. As said, it's planted quite deep. This tree really needs a little bit of TLC, so covering the roots aids in this, and maybe I'll get another 1 or 2 surface roots to appear. But this is roughly how deep it is potted up now. Second week of May, and what you can tell, these branches, they really have started to grow. There are 4 reasons why I am thinking about pruning back. Well, first of all, these branches, these extensions that I'm getting are a very clear sign this tree is on the way to recovering, including the flowers that we have. The second reason is what you see here on the tip. This tip is all curled up, and if you look very closely, it is full of aphids. This aphid manifestation will just explode throughout the tree, so I'm going to just clip it off. And as I start, then I might as well do the rest as well. Then there is, of course, the third reason. The third reason is on the inside here. Caterpillars. Yeah, there's a caterpillar that comes to these plants, they eat the eonymous, and all the leaves are gone in a matter of weeks. Well, I might as well take control myself, remove the caterpillars, prune it back, and just leave what I want to leave. But most importantly is number 4. Number 4 is here on the inside, and I'm going to get you a little bit closer in a second so you can see, but the inner leaves are starting to yellow. That is a sign that there's not enough light anymore to sustain the branches on the inside. And now what I'm pruning are branches like this one here. This sits at the bottom of another branch, and this looked completely dead, but there are 2, 3 little leaves, and there's a little branch here as well. And if I now remove this whole branch will hopefully get sap flow because I have removed this one. So all the sap demand that this branch has will now be pushed to these branches. So my damage is not all that bad. Now the rest really is dead. I'm just going to prune it to nubs in case the base is still alive, and I might get another sprout like this also here. This is all alive. There's some good side branches forming. At some point I'll probably remove this, but I'll leave it for now to strengthen the branch. And here also I'm just pruning back, leaving a little stub. I can always clean up these stubs later. Then we get here to the inside, and here there is something that has been eating it. It's too bad because this is not a very strong whip. I'm just pruning it back a little bit. And this is of course how I can go through the whole tree, right? So there's this branch that is really extending, but there's finer branches in the back. So I'm removing this one, leaving the finer ones. Little dead stub. This is a very long one, and this very long one I don't like, so I'm just removing it. Again, leaving a stub, aiding in potentially getting backbudding. Don't want this to start extending. Don't want this to start extending. This is nice and fine twigging that I can use to build up my tree eventually. Here's another little stub. Dead. Maybe the base is still alive. Then these very long horizontal ones all the way in the top. Just trim them back a little bit. And now this already looks a lot more refined and cleaned, right? Here the same. Just pruning back. And here's a very heavy one. Where does it come from? I'm actually leaving 2, 3, 4 leaves so that it can get some backbudding, because this is the only branch on this side of the tree here at this level. This has all aided in generating strong sap flow on the inside of the tree, revigorating it, and now it is time for this to get more gentle growth. That was a profile prune. Now it's time to thin out. This is where the caterpillars are located. I don't necessarily want to kill these. I just want to remove them, right? So these then will gently come with me to the compost, and there they can live on whatever weeds they find near the compost. I just don't want them here anymore. Now these are spots that were especially hard hit. You can see all these little dead nubbins, but it's not that bad because this here is still alive. So I'm removing here all these dead parts. And then I hope that due to this drastic prune, lower on this branch, in this section, we will also get new buds to form. But yeah, let's just see. Here's a very big dead section. Quite happy. It looks like all the major branches survived. And now of course the top I'm thinning out a lot more than the bottom, because the bottom branches are a lot weaker than the top branches, always. So here I'm really not concerned. This will all sprout as much as I want, if not more. Well, looks like this was successful. This is back to full health. Look at these whips that it's throwing out. These of course I'm now going to all remove. They've just aided in getting the health back, and I'm now going to prune back to either the first bud or to whatever thin branches are there. These are not worth wiring out. I don't really want these big canes in here. So let's thin this out, and then I think that is a successful demonstration of recovering an unhealthy bonsai. Just put it in nice good open substrate, make sure you get a well draining pot, give it a little bit more space and just allow it to grow. This is nice at the end of the branch, so this whole branch will have been strengthened, and here you have some smaller ones. I still have lots of slugs in the garden, which is not really nice. These are actually opposing. I'm taking this one away, and here I'm just leaving the first two nodes because they're nice and tight. This is at the end also the first two nodes because this is far away and thick. Here this is one also coming from down below, and here you see there's a tiny little side branch from this strong cane, and I can cut back all the way to that side branch. I will have to do a little bit of fine pruning still on the tree. There are still a few clustered up sections, and you see still the bottom is a lot lighter than the top, so I'm going to thin out the top a little bit more, but I'll do that afterwards. This is pretty much the image that I tried to keep for this tree. I think it has recovered quite well from the ordeal of last fall. I hope you realize that this tree was on the brink. It almost died. And if you compare it to now, this looks pretty good. It will be another year in this container before it goes back into a nice container that is a size smaller, and then I really have to check that it drains properly. But this is over the hill now, it has recovered, and this is something to keep in mind, right? Even if your tree is deteriorating very, very quickly, make sure you check what problem it has, fix that problem, and then give the tree time to recover. Now this is at the end of the growing season, it is full of health. I've got another 6 weeks or so of growth ahead of me, so I might get another flush of small branches. And then next year this tree is healthy again, and I can allow it to flower and set fruits and all those things. Yeah, just a matter of time. Give your tree time, let it recover. This was Jelle, growing bonsai. See you next time.